Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Lieutenant General Mark Faulkner, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Marine Corps Association and Foundation, and Colonel Richard Pitchford, Commanding Officer, Wounded Warrior Regiment, welcome to the 2020 Wounded Warrior Leadership Award Ceremony. At this time, I would like to introduce the Regimental Commanding Officer, Colonel Pitchford, and the Regimental Sergeant Major Parsons. During today's ceremony, we honor the staff, caregivers, and family of our Marine Corps Wounded Warrior Regiment for their exceptional performance during the fiscal year 2019. Without any further delay, I take pleasure in presenting Colonel Pitchford.
That's all right. Well, I'm not Colonel Pitchford, but I'm glad to be here anyway. We'll introduce Colonel Pitchford here in 1 second. I think that Vice Admiral Lewis just arrived, so Sergeant Major Terry, if Admiral Lewis gets here, just please escort him in. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be here at our 9th annual Wounded Warrior Award reception. Just 1 second, please. We'll let Admiral Lewis come on in. Admiral Lewis, thanks for being here. Right there in the middle. Thank you. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be here. Like I said, this is our 9th annual Wounded Warrior Awards reception, and this year, just like we've done every year, together with the commanding officer of Wounded Warrior Regiment, we're going to recognize individuals, both military and civilian, who have excelled in the performance of their duties. Before we go too much further, let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, of course, and that's all things COVID. And it's impacted everything. We know that, right? It's impacted not only our nation, but it's impacted the entire world in some degree. But the fact of the matter is that the Marine Corps' mission doesn't stop because of a pandemic. And as a professional association of the Marine Corps, our mission doesn't stop either. And so we're pretty excited about continuing to recognize Marines and civilians that support Marines that have excelled in their occupational specialties. Before I get started, let me go ahead and welcome and acknowledge. You're all VIPs tonight, by the way, but let me acknowledge some individuals in particular in the room. First off, mentioned earlier, the commanding officer of Wounded Warrior Regiment, Colonel Pitchford, Rich Pitchford. Rich, raise your hand. And also Sergeant Major Parsons. Sergeant Major, where are you? Thank you for being here. Also, the Commanding General of the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force, Lieutenant General Brian Boudreau. Brian, thanks for being here, and Karen, thank you for being here as well. General Boudreau is joined by his battle buddy, his Sergeant Major of 2MEF, Sergeant Major Lonnie Travis. Lonnie, raise your hand. Thank you for being here. And also Command Master Chief Fletcher. Master Chief, where are you? Right there. Thank you for being here. So we got the entire 2MEF leadership team tonight, and Brian, I want to thank you and your entire team for making this, supporting this, continuing to make it happen. Who's not here, but had a role in it as well, is Major General Dale Alford. Dale runs Marine Corps Installations East, and he's away off on Marine Corps matters. We have a lot of leadership in here from 2MEF tonight. Major General Mike Cederholm, the Commanding General of 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing. Mike, where are you? Home, you're right there in front of me. It's good to see you. Thanks for making the trip from Cherry Point. Appreciate you being here. We also have the Commanding General of Marine Special Operations Command, Major General Jim Glenn. Jim, thank you for being here. Where are you? Right here. Thank you. Thanks for being here, Jim. And also, I think your Command Master Chief, Command Master Chief Martin is here as well. All 6'9" of you, Master Chief. Thank you for being here. I think you provide some bodyguard support to Vice Admiral Lewis later. Appreciate you being here. Speaking of Vice Admiral Lewis, Woody, thank you for being here. Vice Admiral Lewis is the commander of 2nd Fleet and also of Fleet Forces Command in Norfolk, and I sincerely appreciate you making the trip from Norfolk to be here tonight for not only the Wounded Warrior ceremony, but for the dinner later where I know you'll provide some comments. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your leadership. You know, I probably should have started with our award recipients, and that's really why we're here. If you're an award recipient or a family member of an award recipient, I'd ask you to stand right now and be recognized. Please stand. A round of applause, please. Thank you. And congratulations in advance. You know, we wouldn't be here at all recognizing the performance of these individuals without our corporate sponsors, our industry sponsors. And I'll talk more about you later, but you continuing to stick with the Marine Corps Association and Foundation through this tough time, I appreciate it. More importantly than that, I know I speak for lots of Marines out there, and I dare to say the comment on the Marine Corps for the support that you continue to give our organization. So thank you. Brigadier General Marcella Monahan, retired, is out here. Marcella, it's good to see you. We also have the 17th Sergeant Major Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Mike Barrett. Mike, where are you? Hoorah, good to see you. Sergeant Major Barrett, always motivated. Thank you for being here. And just across the board, we appreciate everyone's support. So if you could bear with me here before I kind of turn it back over to the commander of Wounded Warrior Regiment. Take a look at your program. Reach in that little safety packet, if you will, and I'm just going to walk you through it very quickly here. Of course, if you open it up, of course, the agenda along the left-hand side. But then you see our 6 awards tonight. Our Section Leader of the Year award, sponsored by GE. GE's not here tonight, but I want to thank GE publicly. Our Civilian Staff Member of the Year, and we have Jeff Chappell from MSC here. Jeff, thank you for being here. Appreciate what you do. Our Recovering Service Member of the Year, Dennis Simpson, is here from Focus Marines Forward. Dennis, where are you? Thank you, Dennis, for your continued support. We also have, turn it over, our Enlisted Leader of the Year award. Greg Nelson is here, representing St. Wooten. Greg, I talked to you early. Thank you for being here. Family Caregiver of the Year award, Jimmy Kendrick from USAA. Jimmy, thank you for being here. And finally, our Officer Leader of the Year award, retired Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Speets. Jeff, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Okay, I'll congratulate him again when he gets here, Leanne. Thank you very much. So let me just kind of wrap up just with a couple comments here about Wounded Warrior Regiment and what they do, and the commanding officer will talk more about it here in a minute. But our Wounded Warrior Awards program is really one of 5 programs in our foundation where we recognize these individuals, military and civilian, that continue to take care of Marines and Marine family members to reintegrate combat and non-combat wounded individuals back into our Marine Corps. And they do a lot of work, and they do a lot of work behind the scenes, and it's very personal, and they make a huge difference. And they continue to do that regardless of whether we're embroiled, forward deployed in Iraq or Afghanistan. So without further ado, the commanding officer of Wounded Warrior Regiments, Colonel Parsons. It's good to see you. Rich, thank you.
General, thanks for that introduction. I think we threw the narrator, but always great to see you, and thanks for those kind words. Admiral Lewis, General Boudreaux, Sergeants Major, Master Chief, distinguished guests and visitors, General Glenn. Thank you all for coming. Thanks to the Greater Carolina MAGTAF and for our DVs and senior leaders from across the Marine Corps. As General Faulkner said, everybody in this room is a VIP, so thank you very much. Sergeant Major Parsons and I have been looking forward to this event for quite some time. And you can imagine with the COVID environment, it's shifted and morphed, but it's really great to see it finally come to this evening, and it's great to be here aboard Camp Lejeune doing this. We recognize that COVID-19 has presented challenges to all, so we're exceedingly grateful to everybody coming out tonight, and really General Faulkner for the support of the Marine Corps Association. I think first and foremost, we're really lucky and fortunate to be part of the awards program, so thank you for everything the association does for us and all the great people you have working hard on our behalf and allowing us to be recognized tonight. Next, we're grateful for the sponsors. General Faulkner hit them all, but certainly this wouldn't be possible without the great sponsors that we have and contributing to this event. And then really just a final thanks to our great families. The Wounded Warrior Regiment is a large family comprised of dedicated staff, both uniform, civilian, and our families. It's truly a unique unit that has reach across this country, in fact overseas, doing a sacred mission. So understand that as we talk about these specific award recipients tonight, we're really talking about the broader mission of the Wounded Warrior Regiment and the great things all those people do. And our proud winners tonight are just one slice and representation from that. Before we get to passing out these great awards you see behind us, I just wanted to brag a little bit, take some time to talk about the specific award recipients you see here and what they do. Their slice of their bios in front of them, but I think it's helpful perhaps if I try and put some things in perspective, at least from the regimental's view of all the great things they do. So Staff Sergeant Makita Davis here tonight from our Portsmouth detachment. She's our section leader of the year. So for reference, a section leader for us is kind of like a squad leader. It's the backbone of and heart and soul of what we do. And it's really where the rubber meets the road in helping our recovering service members stay on the right track and get better. Part of our Portsmouth detachment, Staff Sergeant, it's not lost on us what you do up there, and I'm really proud to see you here tonight. I'll move on to another Portsmouth Det alum here, Mr. David McIntyre. He's the only administrator in the detachment in Portsmouth. Retired civilian we're recognizing tonight. But you can imagine all the administrative things that go into tending to a detachment of Marines. He's really a jack of all trades, and he's getting it done every day. So, Mr. McIntyre, thank you for what you do, and it's good to see you here tonight. Staff Sergeant Jose Acosta Garcia, there you are. Talk about doing it all. He's been a section leader. He's our senior enlisted leader of the year. Been a section leader, moved up to platoon sergeant, does a number of other things for Wounded Warrior East right here. And I think we're fortunate if you don't get snagged for recruiting duty or drill instructor duty, we've got you in our ranks for a few more years. So Staff Sergeant, thanks for all you do. First Lieutenant Karen Martin, Company XO from East, right up here up front. Most folks get that, being a Company XO, you're doing a little bit of everything and you're always on point getting things done, and it's an important position in any unit. She's doing all that. I'll tell you what's particularly impressive to me. I first met her when we were out at Camp Pendleton for the Wounded Warrior Trials, which is an enormous undertaking. It's the Warrior Reconditioned Athletic Program, and you see all our warriors doing these athletic events and performing all sorts of feats of strength, etc. But she was the team OIC for East, and when you see the undertaking and what she brought to the table, you really understand the impact that officer had. So she's our officer leader of the year. Miss Donna Thielen, I think it's great to me that we recognize family caregivers. Donna's not here tonight, but she's our caregiver of the year. And I'll tell you that really watching the love and compassion and dedication she has for her daughter's recovery really just inspires us all. So Donna, I hope you're watching this live stream, but we're really proud to have you in our ranks and thankful for everything you do. Last and certainly not least is our recovering service member of the year. So Corporal Rasdal, promoted as of June, right? July. Just got the chucks updated in time. Really proud of this Marine, and you should take the time to read his bio, if I could share with you word for word the award nomination, where it talks about how selfless he is and how even as a recovering service member, all he really wants to do is help everybody else in the unit. when you read that, you can't help but be impacted by the great work he's done. So you really are the reason we all do, all the staff that I just mentioned does what they do. You're our purpose for existence, and we're really proud of you and thankful that you're here tonight and thankful for all you're doing. Thanks, Marine. Okay, I'll wrap up and we can start to acknowledge all these great recipients. But I just wanted to reiterate that we're here tonight as part of an entire team of support in the Wounded Warrior Regiment. When you reflect on the accomplishments of these individuals, understand that they represent the whole team. I kind of reflect on both our command principles and our motto, which is Etiam in Pugno, which is still in the fight, still in the fight. One of our most fitting command principles that I'll share with you that Sergeant Major Parsons provided as part of what his expectations were for the unit is that everybody in it would be physically, mentally, and morally tough, and not just the recovering service members that we expect that from, but ourselves as staff that are trying to help these Marines and sailors along their way. Physically, mentally, and morally tough. I think this principle really applies to all. Certainly all these award recipients represent the best of that. We know that resiliency and really those words, physically, mentally, and morally tough, are important. I'll tell you that everyone in here that's recognized tonight truly represents that. They are indeed physically, mentally, and morally tough, and they are indeed still in the fight. Thank you. Semper Fidelis.
Thank you, General Faulkner and Colonel Pritchard. At this time, if I could ask General Faulkner and Sergeant Major Parsons to join Colonel Pitchford at the center stage. It's a sincere pleasure to recognize the achievements of the Corps' outstanding staff, recovering service member, and caregiver for exemplary performance during fiscal year 2019. The 6 individuals we recognize today are representatives of the countless Marines, sailors, and civilians around the globe that significantly contribute to superior care for recovering wounded, ill, and/or injured service members. At this time, I'll begin by recognizing the sponsor for our first award. The Recovering Service Member Award is sponsored by the Focus Marine Foundation. Focus Marines Foundation assists post-9/11 wounded Marines and Navy corpsmen who are having trouble transitioning from military to civilian life because of their injuries. Their life-changing 7-day workshop and ongoing mentorship provide these veterans with renewed hope, direction, and support so they can move forward and live productive and satisfying lives. I would like to invite Mr. Dennis Simpson to the stage for the award presentation. The Recovering Service Member of the Year Award is presented to Corporal Joseph J. Rasdell from Wounded Warrior Battalion West, Camp Pendleton. Corporal Rasdell exceeded what is expected of a recovering service member. While staying true to his comprehensive recovery plan, he went above and beyond by serving in a leadership role within the battalion as a Deputy Family Readiness Coordinator. Being assigned to this role, he recruited other recovering service members to participate in and help with the execution of family outreach events. His outstanding achievement exceeds the standards for other recovering service members to follow on a daily basis. Please join me in a round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Next is a presentation of the Wounded Warrior Section Leader of the Year Award sponsored by GE Aviation. GE Aviation is a world-leading provider of jet engines, components, and integrated systems for commercial and military aircraft. GE Aviation has a global service network to support these offerings. Unfortunately, their representative was unable to attend. The Wounded Warrior Section Leader of the Year Award is awarded to Staff Sergeant Marquita V. Davis, Wounded Warrior Battalion East, Portsmouth Detachment. She was selected due to her knowledge and skills that directly improved her unit's capabilities while improving the efficiency and success towards the care of the Marines. Please join me in a round of applause. The next presentation is the Civilian of the Year Award, sponsored by MSC Direct. MSC is a leading North American distributor of metalworking and maintenance, repair, and operations products and services. I would like to invite Mr. Jeff Chappell to the stage to assist us with the presentation. The Civilian of the Year Award is presented to Mr. David McIntyre, Wounded Warrior Battalion East, Portsmouth Detachment. He was selected due to his tireless and devoted care of all administrative matters for the Marines he supports. Please join me in a round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Chappell. The next presentation is the Enlisted Leadership Award, sponsored by St. Wooten. I would like to invite Mr. Greg Nelson to the stage to assist us with the presentation. Mr. Nelson is the Vice President of Heavy Highway at St. Wooten Corporation, which provides both construction materials and services from site work and utilities to paving and highways. The Enlisted Leadership Award is presented to Staff Sergeant Jose L. Acosta Garcia, Wounded Warrior Battalion East, out of Camp Lejeune. He was selected due to fulfilling many roles within the battalion that included platoon sergeant, section leader, and unit transition coordinator. Please join me in a round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. The next presentation is the Officer Leadership Award, sponsored by Raytheon Technologies. I would like to invite Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Speets, USMC retired, to the stage to assist us with the presentation. Raytheon Technologies is honored to support the United States Marine Corps wounded warriors and disabled veterans through programs that help them flourish in their careers, their education, and their family lives. We remain an active supporter of the Marine Corps Wounded Warrior Regiment, the Quantico Injured Military Sportsmen Association, and the Wounded Warrior Combat Cyber Academy. Raytheon Technologies is a leading provider of precision munitions, state-of-the-art electronics, mission control systems integration, and other capabilities in areas of sensing, effects, and command, control, communications, and intelligence services, as well as a broad range of mission support. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Colonel Speets was not able to join us. The Officer Leadership Award is presented to First Lieutenant Karen V. Martin, Wounded Warrior Battalion East, out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. She was selected due to her exceptional leadership as the company executive officer and also the officer in charge of the 2019 Marine Corps trials. Please join me in a round of applause. This evening's last presentation is the Caregiver of the Year Award, sponsored by USAA. At this time, unfortunately, Mr. Jimmy Kendrick was not able to attend. As I was. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Jimmy Kendrick to the stage to assist us with the presentation. Mr. Kendrick is Relationship Director of Military Affairs at USAA. USAA is dedicated to serving military members and their families through insurance and by offering more benefits than any other major financial provider. The Caregiver of the Year Award is presented to Mrs. Donna Thielen, Wounded Warrior Battalion East. She was selected due to her unwavering care for her daughter while she went through challenging medical care, while also providing support for her granddaughter. Unfortunately, Mrs. Thielen was unable to attend. Please join me in a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, the Leadership Awards of Wounded Warrior for fiscal year 2019. Thank you and congratulations to all the awards and sponsors. It's my pleasure to reintroduce Lieutenant General Mark Faulkner, President and CEO of the Marine Corps Association and Foundation.
Well, how about a round of applause for the award recipients? How about a round of applause for the leadership of Wounded Warrior Regiment and Wounded Warrior Battalions, please? So just a couple final wrap-up comments. Again, I want to thank our industry partners that supported these awards, but not only them, but really going back to the program, you can look on the back, look at all those industry corporate sponsors that are down that right-hand side. I want to thank all of you for continuing to support us, KSA Integration and everyone else associated with us. Thank you very much. Most of you are going to be going next door for our dinner here, and we're on time. We'll probably start right around 1800. What I would ask you to do is, when you're out in the lobby enjoying a drink or whatever the case may be, social distancing, everything associated with that. You know, our number one priority is really your safety. So we're doing this thing right. Please, we'll continue to do that as we go through. Finally, I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you for your continued support of our Marines and civilians and Wounded Warrior Regiment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me have your attention, please. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome to the 2020 Marine Corps Association and Foundation Professional Dinner here aboard good old Camp Lejeune. I'm retired Sergeant Major Adam Terry, the area representative for the Marine Corps Association and Foundation. We are delighted to have you here with us tonight, and thank you all for attending. Also, a heartfelt congratulations to our Wounded Warrior Regiment Awards recipients that were recognized earlier this evening. Congratulations. Our musical support for tonight's ceremony, I don't think I need that, is from the 2nd Marine Division and led by Staff Sergeant Phillips from Queens, New York. Our color guard support for tonight's ceremony is from the Wounded Warrior Battalion East. The color sergeant is Sergeant Diaz from Brentwood, Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of colors, the playing of our national anthem, and remain standing for retiring of the colors, Anchors Away, and Marines Hymn. March on the colors. Retire the colors. Please be seated. Mic ain't working. Test. Ladies and gentlemen, the President and CEO of the Marine Corps Association and Foundation, Lieutenant General Mark Faulkner. Good night.
Okay, well, good evening. Can you hear me? Sergeant Major Terry's over here mugging this microphone here, so, well, thanks Sergeant Major Terry. Another round of applause for our quintet from the 2nd Marine Division Band and our color guard from Wounded Warrior Battalion East. Ladies and gentlemen, it is good to be here. You know, we do about 15, 16 of these events a year, really around the world. And they range in size from anywhere to 600, 700 Marines and guests to our smallest is usually around 200, 250 Marines and others. And the last one we did was our West Coast dinner in California in February, where we had a huge turnout. Matter of fact, Admiral Lewis, your fellow fleet commander out of San Diego, was our guest speaker for that one. But I'll tell you, this pandemic is real, right? I mean, it's not fake news. Now, there's different opinions in terms of the seriousness of it, but it doesn't matter. And my point is not to talk politics, but my point is that we're taking it serious. But as I commented earlier in the Wounded Warrior Awards, just like, the mission of the Marine Corps doesn't stop for a pandemic, nor does the professional association that supports the Marine Corps and recognizes Marines and focuses on professional development. So that's a lot of words to just tell you that we're happy to be here and we're happy you're here as well. So a round of applause for you, please. Leanne Mitchell-Off of our team has done a really good job, which she always does, in terms of taking it seriously and focusing on your safety and your health and kind of packaging everything in there with masks and everything else. So I would encourage you to continue to focus in on that as we go throughout the evening, unless you're eating or drinking. You're all special guests tonight, and again, normally, about 250, 300 for our Camp Lejeune dinner, which we thoroughly enjoy. But tonight, a little different, just for social distancing. But there's some folks in particular that I want to recognize and thank you for being here. Is First off, the Commanding General of 2MEF, Lieutenant General Brian Boudreau, and his wife Karen. Thank you both for being here, CG. General Boudreau's battle buddy, Sergeant Major Lonnie Travis. Sergeant Major, where are you? Thank you for being here, right there in the middle. Thank you, Lonnie, for being here. As well as the Command Master Chief from 2MEF. Where are you, Command Master Chief Fletcher? Thank you for being here. General Boudreau has his 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing Commander here tonight from live and in charge from Cherry Point. Major General Cedarholm, where are you? Mike, thank you for being here. It doesn't necessarily work for the CG at 2MEF, but they share a pretty close working relationship, and that's the Commanding General of Marine Special Operations Command, Jim Glenn. Major General Glenn, thank you, Glenn, Jim, for being here. We've got General Boudreau's deputy and the Commanding General of 2nd Marine Expeditionary Brigade, Brigadier General Dave Odom is here. Dave, thank you for being here. And Brigadier General Marcella Monahan is here. Marcella, thank you for being here. We also have the 17th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Mike Barrett. Where are you, Mike? Back in the back. Good to see you. Thank you. You know, a special welcome to our industry corporate sponsors for A, being here, but B, continuing to support us through this very tough time. I know it's tough for you as well. I can't imagine, but we couldn't do what we do without you. And it's a broken record. You know, it's an echo. I say that every time. That's because it's true every time. And we appreciate you being here and what you continue to do. And you know what? It's not over, right? So we're going to get through this eventually. We're going to look at next year's budget together, and we'll see what that looks like. But on a serious note, I want to continue to thank you and for what you do for Marines. A couple final welcomes. Welcome to my buddy here, Steve Scarborough. Steve is a CPA out in town here in Jacksonville. We grew up together, and one of the reasons that he's at this table, not only so he can buy me a beer later, but his daughter is a Lieutenant JG in the Navy, and she's stationed in Norfolk. She's on the USS Baton. She just got back from a 9-month deployment on the USS Lady Golf. We were talking to Admiral Lewis about earlier, and I thought it was appropriate that Steve gets to sit next to his daughter's big boss, big boss, especially since we're streaming this thing. And it's going to be on Facebook, every other little piece of social media you can do. And just a final little tidbit here is that his daughter, Lieutenant J.G. Emily Scarborough, is getting married in a month. And so during the discussion, the question was asked of the 2nd Fleet Commander whether or not the Lieutenant J.G. asked permission to get married. And I understand she has to do that in writing and in triplicate, and that one didn't go over very well, did it? She's not going to appreciate that either. But Steve, on a serious note, it's good for you to be here. And speaking of that, I'll tell you, it's really a big deal, especially these days with what's going on with our commandant and his close working relationship with the Chief of Naval Operations, what he's doing in his planning guidance and force design, what the CNO is doing to actually get Vice Admiral Lewis from 2nd Fleet to be here. So, Admiral Lewis, thank you for making the trip down. I can't imagine what your schedule looks like, but the fact that you came down to speak tonight not only speaks volume for what you think of Marines, but speaks volume to the relationship that you have with General Boudreau and all the Marines and sailors of 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force. So, on a personal note, thank you very much, Admiral Lewis. Okay, indulge me here if you could. Take a look at your program. A couple more comments here, and then I'll wrap up and we'll have some chow. So take a look at that program. Open it up if you would. Of course, you see Admiral Lewis's bio there. The agenda for this evening, a small change is after chow, I'm going to introduce the Commanding General of 2MEF, and he's going to introduce our guest speaker. But turn it over on the back. That's really what I wanted to show you. Look at those 33 industry sponsors. And I want to thank all of you. A lot of you are here represented tonight. You do business in the eastern North Carolina area. Some of you, such as Jeff Davis over here, do business in the Camp Lejeune, Jacksonville, Coastal Carolina area. I want to thank you for being here as well, Jeff Clark, excuse me. But for all of you industry partners, I want to thank you for what you continue to do for us. Okay, with that, I'd ask the chaplain to join me and say blessing, and then we'll have some food. Chaplain?
It's an honor to be with you this evening. Let us pray. Almighty God, we're grateful for the opportunity to gather tonight for the Marine Corps Association and Foundation dinner. We remember all the Marines who have gone before us and their dedicated service and sacrifice in defense of our nation. We pray for those Marines who are deployed. We ask you to watch over them and help us find ways to support their families. God, we ask you to bless all of our wounded, ill, and injured Marines. We're inspired by the honor, courage, and commitment they demonstrate each day. May we have opportunities to give them compassionate care and service. God, we ask you to be with each of us. Sustain us with your unfailing love. Bless us with health and resilience, and help us to be always faithful to the values of the Marine Corps. We're thankful to the Marine Corps Association and Foundation for their support of the professional development of Marines. May we enjoy a night of fellowship, learning, and growth. Finally, we pray for a blessing on this meal, which we're about to share. In the Lord's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, chaps. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your meal and enjoy each other's camaraderie. Have a great evening. Thank you. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody enjoy their dinner. Does everybody have dessert, or are they still working on that? Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed your dinner, and if you're eating your dessert, continue to eat your dessert. But we're gonna go ahead and move on here. So what I'd like to do is introduce the Commanding General of 2MEF, and everybody knows General Boudreau. I'm not going to read his bio or go through all the great things he's done throughout his career, and there are many. But let me just tell you a couple quick things, really just two things in particular. First off, we wouldn't be here tonight without General Boudreau, because of everything going on around the United States and the world these days. It's easy to say no, right? It's easy to say no because of all things COVID. Well, when I had this discussion with General Boudreau a couple months ago, he said, no, look, this is important. We're going to do this. Let's just do it safely, and let's Let's bring it together and let's take care of professional development because it's important to Marines. So I want to thank you, Brian, personally and on behalf of Marine Corps Association and Foundation. And the second thing is professional development. You know, Commandant speaks pretty clearly in his planning guidance about the importance of continuous professional development. You've read his planning guidance, so probably a lot of you have read all the things he's doing in the Marine Corps in the future. But one of the things here he's pretty clear about is professional development, like camouflage, is continuous. And it's the individual Marine or sailor's responsibility to take care of their own professional development. And the Commanding General of 2MEF has always been a huge proponent of professional development, whether it's the Marine Corps Gazette, whether it's battle study, or whether it's taking care of getting smart in one's profession. And that's what Marines and sailors do, and that's what we do as the Marine Corps Association and Foundation. So, again, I want to thank you, General Boudreaux. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commanding General of 2MEF, General Brian Boudreaux.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming. You know, General Faulkner and I were OCS mates back in 1982, right? So we've known each other a long time. And one, I want to thank you for coming out. You know, if we wanted to, we tried to control it, right? The Association Foundation, in terms of numbers that we could put in a room and stay, you know, reasonably distanced. If we didn't want to do that, we could have easily had 300 people in here tonight just based on desire. That's all it was simply, it wasn't lack of interest for sure. And so I want to just start, and I'm only going to say a couple of minutes worth of things here tonight, and one of them is the importance of this organization. You know, when we just think about what the Gazette and the Leatherneck alone deliver, we would not be the kind of organization we are if we didn't have that kind of dialogue or tie back to our history and the stories and the articles that are written, and also the stories about the future. Super important. And if we didn't have it, we would need to create it. And this organization really is just all about giving. And tonight is just another example of that. And I want to also congratulate all the award winners, you know, through the Association of Foundations work and corporate sponsorship to present those awards tonight, because it's all about recognizing excellence in the Marine Corps, period. It doesn't matter which organization, which regiment, which MEF, which division. The Association and Foundation's been there to do that for us, and we're indebted. And, you know, if we can help build this is our organization. And if we can help build it, we need to try to do that if humanly possible because of all the goodness that comes from it. It's just all about giving. That's it, right? That's all it is. Battle studies. We have personally benefited. Libraries, unit libraries, all that. You know, Mark's not going to stand up here and talk about all that, but our Marines are better Marines in 2MEF because they have access to that. They get, you know, there's going to be a little bit of a bounce in the step of all those Marines that were awarded tonight and recognized, just like there are for all the other prestigious awards that the Association Foundation does. It helps our Marines continue to want to perform and be United States Marines. So, Mark, thanks to what the Association Foundation does to recognize the award winners tonight and throughout the year of those 15 or 16 different dinners, Intel, Com, you know, ground awards, etc. All very much appreciated, and 2MEF Marines are recipients of those awards. We're very proud of what they do and what they deliver. Next, I just want to introduce Vice Admiral Lewis. I would say this even if he wasn't here, who I personally consider, probably the most operationally savvy and the best sailor in the United States Navy, period, hard stop. And that's with no disrespect to the Chief of Naval Operations or any other great sailors that are out there. But when it comes to operational excellence and truly appreciates and understands and desires to want to continue to integrate and do things with the United States Marine Corps, Vice Admiral Lewis is the epitome of that. One simple phone call on, hey, Admiral Lewis, would you care to come down to Lejeune and talk to a group of folks and, you know, about the wonderful work that Second Fleet and Joint Forces Command Norfolk, JFC Norfolk, where he also wears a NATO hat. He's also a NATO commander and not just commander of U.S. Second Fleet, and the great work that's going on. So You've seen his bio, right? Over 5,000 hours of mishap-free flying. 1,100 arrested landings on a carrier, 6 different operations over the course of his career. He and I have known each other probably for a decade, if not longer. When he was at the Maritime Ops Center up in Bahrain, and I was passing through to being battle buddies. He was N3, N5 for ops plans and strategy for the Navy when I was plans, policies, and operations for the Marine Corps. And then we've had the good fortune of hooking back up here. And when the Navy needed to stand up another fleet, who did they call on? Admiral Lewis. Absolute perfect choice for things that Second Fleet does to defend the homeland and to play the away game against the Russian threat. The other thing you're not going to read in his bio, though, is just the raw leadership of Admiral Lewis, who is as humble as the day is long, in the charitable kind of work that he does when the uniform comes off. So he's very involved with his church. I know that he would go around and collect up furniture and have furniture and support folks that needed furniture, homeless, so he's doing a lot of work through his church. His wife, Mary, super involved in Navy and Marine Corps Relief Society, like Karen had been in a similar capacity, working with Mary and many others. I'm sure maybe in this audience have done that. But the Lewises, as a family, are the ideal leaders that we would want to see in the United States Navy. So it's not just what Woody has done over his career, it's what Mary has also done to continue to support sailors and Marines alike through the Navy and Marine Corps Relief Society. So he's got a lot to talk about tonight. We're on a great path together with a common vision, and we already see things that we can improve together on Marine Expeditionary Unit training and certification, as well as getting ready for whatever may unfold in Europe. And one just has to look around and see what goes on in Belarus right now, and issues in Lebanon, and it's an unstable world. And we got the right admiral at the right time, at the right place, doing great things, and it's just a real pleasure and privilege to be a battle buddy with Admiral Lewis. So without further ado, Commander U.S. Second Fleet, Commander Joint Forces Command Norfolk, Admiral Woody Lewis.
Thanks, Brian. That introduction was actually humbling in itself. Really, I don't know what to say, frankly. But it's really a pleasure to be here. I woke up about 4 o'clock this morning. I usually wake up around 5, but I woke up around 4 o'clock this morning, and I reread some of General Mattis's book, Call Sign Chaos. Who's read that book? Raise your hand. Okay, good, because I got some questions later. But there's some really good lessons in there. And the one I think about, in the direct leadership section of the book, the first part, is the one in which is most powerful in what we do day to day, regardless of your rank. Those basic leadership qualities that you learn as Marines, that smart sailors learn as smart sailors, and they apply them throughout their time in the military and throughout their time in life. And the 3 C's that General Mattis talks about: competence, caring, and conviction, are something that will carry you through any challenge that you have. What I'm not going to talk about tonight is COVID. I'm tired of talking about COVID. We're going to fight our way through COVID. It's a risk that we can handle very well. And this is a testament to do it. And Brian and Mark Faulkner, thanks for doing this. Because it's good to kind of stare it down in the face. Once again, thank you. It's good. It's great to see everybody. Karen, it's great to see you. Most of you probably do not know that at the end of 2019, General Boudreaux gave the keynote address at the U.S. 2nd Fleet's and Joint Force Command Norfolk's first ever dining out. And so the Mr. Vice was my Royal Navy 2-star, and Brian came up to the Cavalier Hotel and gave a great brief. It's a tough act to follow, but it was really a pleasure to have you up there. It was fantastic and much appreciated. General Faulkner, thanks for asking me to be here tonight. We go a little ways back as well, about almost as far as Brian and I do. It's really, truly an honor. And most especially, thanks to all the Marines, active, retired, and veterans here tonight, and to your families, for hosting me and allowing me to share this evening with you. A quick administrative note before I begin. When I finish speaking in a few minutes, I already mentioned this, I want to hear from you. What is on your mind? What problems do you face? How can I help? And when I'm speaking, please think about what's missing in my remarks. All of you are the backbone of our force. Is this working okay? Oh, there we go. And I need to hear from you so we get to go stronger together. U.S. 2nd Fleet has been designed and built over the past 2 years to closer integrate with our Marine counterparts, specifically 2MEF. It was our first and remains our most important command relationship. In fact, Camp Lejeune, I think I said that right now, was one of the first places, in fact, the first place that I visited when I took command of 2nd Fleet on the 24th of August in 2018. And I've had several opportunities to visit here in the last 2 years, even in August, although today is a lot nicer than it was 2 years ago. The majority of my remarks today will focus on the partnerships between the 2nd Fleet and 2MEF. But first I want to take a few minutes to reflect on current affairs. When I agreed to speak to you all in January, the event was meant to have three times as many individuals joining us, and certainly I wouldn't have imagined that I would be issued a mask at the door. We're fast approaching a presidential election, and for the last several months, the death of George Floyd has sparked widespread protests and riots and a national conversation about race. I want to share with you a couple stories about a couple individuals. First one is on August 21st, 1968, 52 years ago tomorrow, a Marine named James Anderson was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. James, a native of Los Angeles, was just barely 20 years old when he found himself in the lead element on a foot patrol with his unit, 3rd Marine Division in Vietnam. His platoon was ambushed with heavy gunfire, and suddenly an enemy grenade landed in the midst. James unhesitatingly reached out and grabbed the grenade and pulled it to his chest. His body absorbed the major force of the explosion and surely saved the lives of his nearby fellow Marines. For his action on February 28, 1967, Anderson was the first African-American Marine to be awarded the Medal of Honor. Although certainly not the first to show bravery or heroism in combat, but this recognition was significant for the times. The second story is a personal story. I was an Air Wing commander on Harry S. Truman with a Marine squadron, VMFA 312, and when I was a strike group commander, I had a Marine squadron, VMFA 251. And I was walking fine on the flight deck, and whoever's walked fine on the flight deck, I know homie has. I was walking along, and I thought we were having an eclipse or something. But it was this very large man in front of me. And this guy's name was, I walked up to him, pat him on the back like this. Gunnery Sergeant Walker. And I said, "You are the biggest son of a bitch I have ever seen in my life. If I get in a fight, I want you on my side." And he's, started laughing. So fast forward, one of my strike group commander, and he's now an E8, and he's back in the other squad, the squadron deploying on Theodore Roosevelt. And he calls me up, or I bump into him in the passageway, and he says, "Hey, sir, can I come up to the flag bridge, bring some of my Marines up there to watch the transit through the Strait of Hormuz?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So he brought up about a dozen of these Marines to watch the small boats and the Iranians do their silliness out there. And, he explained it. He stayed up there for 3 or 4 hours. And about a year ago, during Hurricane Dorian, just prior to that, he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm getting promoted to E9. Would you come down and promote me in Beaufort?" And, I said, "Absolutely, I would." Sadly, I wasn't able to because the hurricane kind of made a mess of things down here. But I intend to get down there and catch up with a guy who is also an African American, a very big, muscular guy who I would want on my side in any fight. But the Marine Corps has recognized his character and promoted him as a leader based upon his character and his accomplishments and his ability to achieve the mission. And that's what the Marine Corps has learned and will continue to learn, to treat its people right and treat its people according to what is inside of them, not what's on their skin color. We come from all walks of life with different and valuable experiences and perspectives. Our differences make our services, our connection to each other and our families and communities even stronger. And we need unity within our ranks more than ever. The threats outside our borders are far more menacing than those we face within. We in the military are the 1% of our society. It's the calling, it's a service to our nation that has brought you here, being a part of something larger than yourselves. The proud legacy of the Navy and Marine Corps team. In early April, when USNS Comfort was docked in Manhattan, I met with the mayor of New York. He told me that part of the reason he wanted support from the military in his hospitals was exactly that warfighting spirit, our resilience. We know how to stay the course and remain focused on the objective through chaos. And as I mentioned in the book earlier, which is undoubtedly what our world has experienced this year. And so we as military members must be leaders in society during this difficult time. We must look for commonalities and ways to unite. It is only through unity of effort, mutual respect, and understanding, and love for one another that this nation will be successful. The Navy Marine Corps team below, on and above the sea, and in space and cyberspace, is the key to ensuring our global maneuver power as America's first response force. This is especially true in the Atlantic. The Atlantic is a critical link to the worldwide fight. Whether our ships are ultimately deploying to the high north, the eastern Mediterranean, or the Arabian Gulf, East Coast ships must first sail across the Atlantic and be prepared to face whatever threats may present themselves in this contested space. When I commissioned in 1985, our primary competitor was the Soviet Union. And as such, my early training was focused on near-peer threats. My contemporaries and I had to quickly adapt to a new battle space during the first Gulf War. When I was first ordered on a combat flight in the country, I was somewhat in disbelief. I'd never imagined that I would be flying a combat mission over a foreign land. My experience to date had been only on ranges. By 2001, I was deployed to Kabushi. On Enterprise, we were well trained for war in the Middle East. So when I felt the Enterprise, which at the time was headed home after a full deployment, changing course to head back to CENTCOM, I knew what lay ahead. Fast forward 15 years and many more carrier deployments to when I was stationed in the Pentagon for the third time, sadly, as the N3, N5, and the release of the National Security Strategy and subsequent National Defense Strategy, and a follow-on Navy strategy. The message was clear: we would need to pivot again. So for the remainder of my time at the Pentagon, I fought for deployments for our strike groups to be in support of the National Defense Strategy, and therefore in support of our fight to win a great power competition. Second Fleet was reestablished 2 years ago with external threats in mind, following the release of 2018 NDS that labeled China and Russia our competitors, and recognizing that great power competition was yet again returning to our globe. Specifically, Second Fleet is focused on the way in which great power competition is manifested in the maritime, primarily in the Atlantic and the Arctic, and with our competitors Russia and China. And as I alluded to earlier, I designed the fleet with naval integration in mind. One of our very first staff members at Second Fleet was a Marine Corps major. Today we have 8 Marines on our Second Fleet headquarters staff, and we need more. So I'm recruiting tonight. We work closely with Second MEF to train forces and operate forward. Second Fleet is now fully operational with clear strategic guidance from the aforementioned documents and the recently published Navy Strategy Commandant's Plan and Guidance and our CNO's Design 2.0. We are focused on security and stability in the region. My job as the commander of Second Fleet is precisely in line with these concepts and strategies to develop and dynamically employ maritime forces ready to fight across multiple domains in the Atlantic and the Arctic. Since our establishment, we have been moving rapidly to build our capability and capacity through partnerships, training, and operations, many of which have been hand in hand with the Marine Corps. The Muse CBS forward presence, expeditionary nature, combined arms integration, and interoperability with joint, combined, and special operations forces is critical in this fight. So Second Fleet has been around now for almost exactly 2 years. You might be asking, what is it that we are doing to meet our objectives? In June of last year, Second Fleet led Exercise Baltic operations on behalf of Naval Forces Europe, marking it the first time the fleet operated in the European theater since its reestablishment, leveraging increased lethality, interoperability, and integrated warfighting capability with regional allies and partners. The 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force Information Group was a key player in the exercise, and Marine Corps General Stephen Neary serves as a task group commander. Under General Neary's watch, we successfully employed an integrated Navy Marine Corps command and control framework, incorporating our NATO partners for the first time. In that demonstration, we showcased the benefits we bring to a theater commander by creating a blended staff of sailors and Marines and operating as one integrated organization. This past February, approximately 30 Second Fleet staff deployed right here to Camp Lejeune to test our ability to command and control forces in austere environments. This Expeditionary Maritime Operations Center exercise also integrated the Second Fleet staff with our Marine counterparts at 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force. And then this past summer, the Harry Truman Carrier Strike Group and Marine Corps elements assigned to General Cederholm's Marine Aircraft Wing recently completed the 2nd phase of their operations in the Atlantic. They conducted naval and air integration exercises that improved Navy and Marine Corps integration, communication, power projection in the form of strikes, and enhanced readiness of air defense assets. And we are changing our processes as we are learning. A few weeks ago, we welcomed home the Baton Amphibious Readiness Group and the 26th MEU, who truly had a historic deployment. Last summer when BAT-ARG and the 26th MEU was going through workups, preparation for deployment, the ARG and MEU just needed to transition swiftly from training for deployment to delivering supplies, transporting U.S. relief personnel, and providing medical evaluations from the Bahamas a week after Hurricane Dorian slammed into the eye of the nation. Several months later, the battle arg was deployed and they executed a fleet battle problem while crossing the Atlantic. The classification of the operations exceeds this room, but in the Atlantic, the largest threat is Russian submarines, which are among the most effective tools in the Kremlin's arsenal and have not suffered the same decline as its surface forces. We have seen a surge in undersea activity from the Russian Federation Navy that we haven't seen in a long time. Russia has continued to put resources into their undersea domain. It's an asymmetric way of challenging the West and the NATO alliance, and they've done quite well. Battle arg fought her way across the Atlantic and was ordered straight into the Arabian Gulf as a deterrent amidst increased tensions with Iran earlier this year following the rightful killing of General Soleimani. The RMU was ordered to be stationed inside the Arabian Gulf, with the Ike Strike Group taking the position outside the contact layer. One change we will carry forward to the training of the EWO ARG and 24th MU is the level to which an ARG MU is expected to perform on deployment. Brian and I talked about this earlier. The Baton ARG and the 26th MU was not trained for the mission they conducted. And while they did a stupendous job, it is imperative that we set the next group up for success. Increasingly, the lethality of the ARG and MU will increase the flexibility for theater commanders once the ships are on station. Battle arg remains sharp through deployment, embodying the Marine virtues of improvising, adapting, and overcoming. Even conducting sustainment training on the Saudi Arabian islands of Karen and Kirin Islands in April. The training not only increased the MU's readiness, but also reassured our regional partners that we stand ready to defend and deter aggression. To quote Colonel Hall, the 26th MU commander, this deployment presented unique challenges, but the Navy Marine Corps team prevailed and incessantly provided our fleet commanders with a responsive, sea-based Marine Air-Ground Task Force, even during the global novel corona, whatever they call this thing. Battle arg and the 26th MU set a very high bar, one which we plan to continue to meet and raise in coming years, starting with the EWO ARG and 24th MU. We're getting ready to start their deployment workups. In this fall, 2nd Fleet will join forces with 2 MEF for their MEFEX to participate in the command and control exercise designed to synchronize and bring to bear the full spectrum of Navy Marine Corps team operations. Participating in this exercise will ensure the 2nd MEF and 2nd Fleet remain ready to provide the naval service with an experienced staff capable of integrating with international allies and partner nations in a combined joint task force charged with accomplishing a wide range of military operations. Next spring, 2nd Fleet will be assessed for our first ever Maritime Operations Center certification, and I know participating in MEFEX will prepare us to undergo the evaluation. We are constantly learning and must learn from one another whenever possible. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you tonight and share a few thoughts. I ask that when you leave here, you reflect on where we are headed as a naval service, but that you also reflect on what you can learn from our history. Reflect on PFC Anderson's courage, sacrifices, and the lessons we can take from them today. This is a timeless story, most worthy of sharing now, more than ever, as a reminder that our core values of honor, courage, and commitment are much more than just words, but backed up by deed and act. I know that all of you embody these values. Only a few months ago, troops from around the country sprang into action in New York City to take upon themselves physical risk to help their fellow Americans. Thank you for that. And so I know we will weather the storm together like we always have done in the past. I know we will come out stronger, more deadly, and ready to defend the land and people we love. We'll make sure of it. A strong network and community of family members, veteran service organizations, and retirees like you here at Camp Lejeune is exactly what it takes to make the mission work. We at Second Fleet are honored to be a part of your team. Thank you, God bless, and I look forward to hearing any questions. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Admiral. Thank you very much for your remarks. Colonel Brian Russell, I'm the commander of General Boudreaux's MEF information group. So I'm responsible for planning, synchronizing, conducting operations in the information environment. We'd like to hear your thoughts on how Second Fleet is currently approaching information warfare and how we might be able to do that better as a Navy and Marine Corps team. Thank you.
What's your first name again, Brian?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to come up to Norfolk? No, it's a very good question. My new N6 is just left the baton ARG, and he was the information warfare officer on the baton. And last week when we were at over at EOTG Lance at Little Creek, I spoke to the gang over there, 24th MEU and the EWO team, and I dragged over my new Fleet Marine officer, Colonel Clark, and my N6, and put the dot on them for two things. One, naval integration, and two, information warfare, and the broader composite warfare commander way of doing business, which uninteresting to people who are not, in that business of command and control or command and feedback, but something that the ARG and the MU need to take on. And General Boudreaux and I have talked about this. What I envision, what we both envision, is in the EWO or in the 24th MU, the ACE commander will be a strike warfare commander under the CWC construct. And the combined capability in information warfare with what we can tap into here at the MiG, which is considerable, to make that warfare area much more. The future of the fight is in the non-kinetic realm, it's in the information realm, it's even in the non-lethal realm. And that's where we really have got to make inroads. And something that's super important. Just to be very specific about what we need to be doing with this workup with EWO and 24th MU is normally when we do these composite exercises before deployment, we do it with a carrier strike group, we do in 3 phases. We do a mission phase, we do a theater phase, and then we do a maneuver phase. In the ARG and MU, we do a mission phase and a theater phase. We've got to do a maneuver phase because that's where the real integration with the MU and the ARG ships go. We're not just traveling around delivering Marines places. It's a fighting element of the fleet at sea. That is something that we have got to get back to. I mean, I will unapologetically say that time and again because I think it's very important. What else? I love questions. Yes, sir.
Admiral, can you talk a little bit about, you talked about ARG News, and it's really refreshing, to hear a fleet commander and a MEF commander talk about an ARG News. But can you talk a little bit about F-35? I mean, you being as a F-18 pilot and kind of what we're doing and where we think we should be going in the future with F-35. And I know that we're doing a lot of learning as we go.
Sir, it's a good question. And General Cedrome's got a little bit of time on the F-35. I don't have any. I do have some similar time. But what I do have is I have 2 deployments flying this thing called Harriers, which is, I did an exchange tour with the Royal Navy flying the Sea Harrier with the Brits. So I deployed twice on HMS Invincible. And so the way the Brits operate is pretty similar to the way the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier operates. It's not how we've operated with big deck Hamptons, with Harriers. It's been more of an expeditionary type of mindset. I think what we need to do with the F-35, because of the capability that it has, and it is a contact layer asset. It is a battle manager. I mean, the sensor package on F-35 is eye-watering, and it's a first day of the fight platform, and we've got to be able to operate them from outside the bubble to the edge of the bubble and open it up so we can wreak some havoc on people inside the bubble. And so what that means from an F-35, from the F-35B standpoint and the Marine Corps is, I think we need to be looking at operating from the sea more with the big deck Hamptons. We were talking about this earlier, that the WASP is configured for F-35s, and putting more than just half a dozen or a dozen F-35s, put them we've done some things in the past where we war game putting 20 F-35s on board an amphib and doing some things. As you all probably know, the Queen Elizabeth, the Brits' new aircraft carrier, they're building two of them, Queen Elizabeth and Prince of Wales. They are deploying next year with 24 F-35s, 12 Royal Navy, Royal Air Force F-35s, and 12 U.S. Marine Corps F-35s. And fully integrated. It's a very capable platform. The ship is, and it's built to launch and recover F-35s. And there's a lot of things we can learn from them because it's a high classification level with all the systems and whatnot. So I think there's a lot we can take away from that. It's going to be good. It's a big tax on the Marine Corps for sure, but something that's worth doing. Sir.
Admiral Lewis, could you, just while we got advantage of being here, maybe spend 2 minutes talking about the NATO hat that you wear and the main thrust you're trying to move on under your NATO?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Brian. So let me just look at this from a historical sense. Everybody ever heard of the Battle of the Atlantic? Okay. So I would say there's 4 battles of the Atlantic. First one was the First World War, German U-boats against Allied shipping, mainly in the continent, as they were entering the continent. World War II, the Second Battle of the Atlantic, more U-boats, more capable, big wolf packs doing bad things against Lend-Lease, where we were supporting the U.S., the massive machine that the U.S. is, to resupply the continent. Third Battle of the Atlantic, the Cold War. Really, a Cold War, but a deterrence type of thing. We're into this 4th Battle of the Atlantic now. At the end of the Cold War, we took kind of a peace dividend and started opening up the battle space between across the Atlantic, and we thought of it as a benign environment. Well, it's not a benign environment. It never was, and it is definitely not now. So what my role is in NATO. So NATO has 3 Joint Force Commands. So kind of the equivalent within NATO of a combatant command. There's one in Naples, Italy, one in Brunson, Holland, and now JFC Norfolk in Norfolk, Virginia, which my area of responsibility is the entire Atlantic, up into the high north and the Arctic. And so as a Joint Force Commander under Supreme Allied Commander Europe, General Walters, U.S. Air Force officer, I work directly for him, but my responsibility is for coordination, command, and fighting the fight in the Atlantic. And so, way I look at it, in many respects, is my second fleet, maneuver arm on the U.S. system is a component of my joint command of JFC Norfolk. And I've been trying to get General Boudreaux to offer up the Marine Corps as a land component command, but that's something that we've really got to work through. Just to give you an idea of what the commands are like. On the second fleet side, I have 4 exchange officers, non-reciprocal exchange officer. I have a Canadian 2-star, a Norwegian commander, a Royal Navy commander, and a French captain. And there's reasons for that if you think about it. The relationship across the Atlantic, that we rely very much upon the Norwegians and their very unique relationship with the Russians, particularly in the maritime. And then the French and the Brits are Atlanticists and powerful navies, very much historically powerful, but very, there are nuclear powers and some other things. And then, of course, the Canadians, the intent being to pull the continent together. In my Joint Force Command Norfolk hat, I've got a deputy commander who's a Brit 2-star, and then I've got a plans officer who's French, a Norwegian ops officer, a Danish 146 type, support, and then a chief of staff who's German, alternating Spanish. If you've never served any time with NATO, and I know General Boudreaux has, but if you've never served any time with NATO, don't believe what you read in the newspapers. The contribution to NATO, the political side, that's another whole conversation. But if you talk about the military arm of NATO, these are brilliant naval officers, brilliant military officers, strategists, tacticians. They're very good at the business. And they are every bit as tough and war fighting, knife in the teeth as U.S. Marines are. The U.S. Marine Corps is well integrated with the Royal Marines. And they're fighters. I've got a Norwegian staff officer who's a special forces guy who I would pair up against Tim Szymanski, who's a good mate of mine down in SOCOM. And they're real. You never want to go into a fight without being out with. If you're going into a fight, you want the Vikings with you. So you want the Norwegians, the Swedes, the Finns, the Danes, because they love fighting, and they're good at it. And I'm serious about that. Anything else? All right. Thanks, Mark.
Well, that was tremendous. I was just thinking, as Admiral Lewis was talking about, a lot of times we talk about how busy we are, right? Our to-do list. But how'd you like to be responsible for the Atlantic, right? Is it going to keep you up at night? But Admiral Lewis, again, I broken record here. Sound like General Boudreaux, but thank you for what you do. And I've had 6 tours coming through Camp Lejeune and the Carolina MAGTF, and I tell you, there's a lot of tremendous general officers have commanded this MEF and have gone on to do great things, and certainly a lot of talented flag officers have been through Norfolk. But I've never seen the relationship any stronger, and I get to see it in my current position. Not only do we publish a Gazette, the Commandant wrote about it in June when he talked about Case for Change, which you may have seen in the June Gazette. He talked about the Marine Corps and our role as a naval force in readiness and where we have to go in the future to deal with not only China and the PRC, but all the threats that they were talking about in Russia. That, quite frankly, Admiral Lewis has wrote, pretty boldly about the Russian submarine threat in an unclassified manner, but pretty pointedly. So I just want to tell you, for everyone here, you're in great hands in terms of the Navy-Marine Corps relationship, and you don't have to hear it from me. You can hear it from the CNO and the Commandant, but it's pretty good, and it should make us sleep well at night. So I want to thank you both. Thank you for your leadership and for being here tonight. Okay, so let me wrap up tonight. It's been a great night, and let me do some final thank yous. And I thanked our guests of honor, but I also want to thank the staff here at Marston Pavilion. They've done a tremendous job, and the food was good, and they went to some extra precautions to make sure that they did it the right way. A lot of leadership from across 2MEF here. We talked about that, but also from Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune. So I want to thank you for that. And really, industry and corporate sponsors and all of you. General Boudreau talked about it earlier. We recognized 6 Marines and civilians who excelled in Wounded Warrior Regiment earlier, and the Wounded Warrior Regiment commanding officer and sergeant major is here with us tonight. Okay, finally, last but not least, indulge me. Let me talk a little bit about my staff. Leanne Mitchell, who's here, she continues to do amazing work, especially in this environment. Sarah Cohen, Mike Munson, who's our guy on sound. Well done, Mike, and streaming this thing. Eric Wagner, and then Sergeant Major Adam Terry, stepping out with those full 30-inch steps. We really appreciate that. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. Doesn't mean you have to go home, but if you stick around for an adult beverage, please do it safely. Enjoy yourself. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do day in, day out. Semper Fidelis. God bless all of you. Thank you.